I used to believe that betrayal was something you could feel coming. That if the person you loved was deceiving you, there would be a shift in the air, some invisible warning sign pressing against your chest, telling you to pay attention. But that's not how it happens. Not really. For months, I told myself that Gloria was just stressed. That her sudden need for space, her coldness in bed, the way she locked her phone, were all just symptoms of something else, something we could fix. I was a fool. It started with little things. Gloria had always been affectionate, the type to lean into me when we sat on the couch, her fingers absent-mindedly tracing patterns on my arm. Then, one day, it stopped. Just like that. She no longer reached for my hand. No longer curled into me at night. It was as if I had become a stranger in my own marriage. I asked her about it, of course. "Work is killing me," she said, sighing as she peeled off her blazer, dropping it on the chair. "You wouldn't understand." That was her new favorite phrase. You wouldn't understand. As if I hadn't spent the last 7 years of my life understanding everything about her. The way she needed 2 pillows to sleep, how she always hummed when she was nervous, how she could never hide a lie from me because she chewed the inside of her cheek when she told one. But this time, she lied so effortlessly, so convincingly, that I almost believed her. Almost. The night I found out the truth was like any other. Gloria had come home late, again, smelling faintly of a perfume I didn't recognize. She barely said a word as she slid into bed, turning her back to me before I could even say goodnight. I laid there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sound of her breathing. She was asleep within minutes, utterly unbothered. I, on the other hand, felt something gnawing at my insides, something I couldn't explain. Then, her phone lit up. It was a simple text, just a few words. But they were enough to set my world on fire. "Tonight was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you." The sender's name was Ryan. I sat up so fast the bed barely moved. My heart pounded in my ears, drowning out everything else. For a long moment, I just stared at the glowing screen, my mind refusing to accept what my eyes were seeing. Then, slowly, methodically, I picked up her phone. I had never gone through Gloria's things before. Never even felt the need to. But as my hands moved, unlocking her phone with the code I had once trusted her with, I realized trust was for fools. I started scrolling. At first, it was just flirtation, stolen compliments, inside jokes I didn't understand. Then it became something else. Messages about stolen weekends at hotels, rushed meetings in parking lots. Details of their intimacy. And the worst part? Her words. "Andrew is so clueless. I feel nothing when I'm with him." I stopped reading. Something inside me, the part that had loved her, trusted her, spent every day believing in her, snapped. I put the phone down. My body felt too still, too calm, like the seconds before a bomb goes off. Gloria shifted beside me, murmuring something in her sleep. I turned to look at her, this woman I had built my life around. This woman who had just, in a few sentences, reduced me to nothing. I thought about waking her up. Thought about grabbing her by the shoulders, shoving the phone in her face, demanding an explanation. But no. I wouldn't give her that satisfaction. Instead, I took my time. I carefully got out of bed, walked to my office, and closed the door. Then, I sat down and started thinking. This wasn't just some mistake. Some drunken, impulsive lapse in judgment. This was months. Months of sneaking around, of calculated deception, of making love to me with a mouth that had just whispered to another man. I felt sick. And then, I felt something else. A plan forming. I didn't want to yell. I didn't want to cry. I didn't even want an apology. I wanted to win. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my office, staring at the walls lined with my unfinished manuscripts. Words had always been my weapon, my way of making sense of the world. But now, no words could explain the numb, hollow ache inside me. At some point, Gloria stirred in the bedroom. I heard the sheets rustling, the soft creak of the mattress. She got up, padded to the bathroom, and shut the door. A few minutes later, the sound of the shower filled the silence of our house. I imagined her washing herself, scrubbing away whatever scent Ryan had left on her. The thought made my skin crawl. She walked past my office on her way back to bed, unaware that her husband had just spent the last 4 hours reading about her affair in painful detail. I heard her sigh as she settled into bed, the same sigh I once thought was exhaustion from work. Now I knew better. Now I knew everything. The next morning, I went about my routine like nothing had changed. Gloria sat at the kitchen table in her silk robe, scrolling through her phone, sipping her coffee. I made breakfast, eggs, toast, coffee just the way she liked it. I even kissed the top of her head when I placed her plate in front of her. She didn't flinch. Didn't look guilty. She just smiled and said, "Thanks, babe." Like she hadn't spent the night before with another man. Like I was nothing more than a backup plan. I wanted to throw the plate across the room. Instead, I sat down across from her, sipping my own coffee. Watching. She scrolled through her phone absently, texting between bites of toast. Was it Ryan? Was she arranging their next meeting right in front of me? I clenched my jaw and forced myself to stay still. Let her think she had one. For the next few days, I observed. Every lie, every excuse, every late-night work meeting, I tracked them all. I checked our shared bank statements, looking for hotel bookings, restaurants, unexplained cash withdrawals. She had been careful. But not careful enough. I found a charge from a boutique hotel 2 weeks ago. Another from a fancy steakhouse on a night she told me she was out with her friend Lisa. She hadn't just been lying. She had been laughing at me while she did it. That realization fueled me. I wasn't going to confront her. That would be too easy. Too predictable. No, I wanted something better. Something permanent. Something she couldn't lie her way out of. 3 nights later, I set my trap. Gloria told me she had a last-minute work dinner and would be home late. She even kissed me on the cheek before leaving, her lips soft, her perfume floral and sweet. I smiled and told her to have fun. Then I followed her. She drove to a hotel on the other side of town, parking in the farthest lot. A sleek black car was already waiting for her. Ryan. She got out, adjusting her dress in the reflection of the window, smoothing her hair before practically running into his arms. He kissed her like he owned her. Like she was his. I gripped my phone tightly, snapping photos through the windshield. Every embrace, every stolen glance, every moment that made my stomach churn, I captured it all. Not for revenge. Not yet. I wanted evidence. I wanted truth. I didn't go home right away. I parked a few blocks away from the hotel and waited. An hour passed. Then 2. Finally, at nearly midnight, Gloria came out, her hair tousled, her lipstick smudged. Ryan kissed her goodbye before she slid into her car, her body language relaxed, satisfied. I followed her home. She walked in, kicking off her heels, stretching like she had just come from a long day at work. She didn't even glance in my direction as she made her way to the bathroom, probably to shower off any trace of Ryan. I sat in the living room, my fingers tight around my phone. The pictures were staring back at me, undeniable proof of her betrayal. I could wake her up right now. I could show her the photos, watch her face crumble. I could scream. Break things. Make her feel even a fraction of the pain she had inflicted on me. But that would give her control. That would make me the crazy one, the angry husband who just couldn't handle the truth. No. She didn't deserve that reaction. She deserved something much worse. The next morning, I was calm. I kissed her before she left for work. She smiled, still oblivious, still lying. As soon as she was gone, I packed my bags. I withdrew every dollar from our shared accounts. I met with a lawyer, making sure everything was legally airtight. And then, I left. No fight. No confrontation. Just silence. I blocked her number. Blocked her on social media. When she came home that evening, she found nothing. No clothes. No wedding ring. No husband waiting for her. Just an empty house. And an envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside were two things. 1, divorce papers. 2, the photos of her and Ryan. I imagined her face when she saw them. The panic, the shock, the "oh my God, how much does he know?" She probably called me. Screamed into the voicemail. Sent texts begging me to talk. I didn't read a single one. Because I was already gone. And soon, so would her reputation. I had expected rage. Screaming voicemails, tearful texts, desperate attempts to claw her way back into my life. But instead, Gloria went silent. Not a single word for 3 days. Then, on the 4th day, I got an email. Subject: let's be adults about this. I opened it, not because I cared about what she had to say, but because I wanted to see how far she would go to twist the truth. Andrew, I know you're upset, but you need to be reasonable. This doesn't have to be ugly. I think we both know that things weren't perfect between us for a while. I never meant to hurt you. I just needed something different. I hope we can at least have a civil conversation about dividing things fairly. Please call me. I read it twice, then closed my laptop. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't heartbroken. She just wanted to negotiate, to control the narrative. Gloria wasn't the type to fall apart. She was the type to rewrite the story until she came out looking like the victim. But not this time. Not when the truth was in my hands. I left town. Not forever, just long enough to get my head on straight. I booked a small cabin in the mountains, nothing fancy, just a desk, a bed, and enough solitude to do the only thing that made sense. I wrote. For the first time in months, my mind was clear. The words spilled onto the page faster than I could type them. A thriller. A story about a devoted husband who slowly unravels his wife's affair, gathering evidence, watching as the woman he loves turns into a stranger. A man who doesn't confront her, doesn't beg for the truth, but instead, destroys her in the most poetic way possible. The betrayal, the manipulation, the calculated lies, it all found its way into the book. Of course, I changed the names. The setting. The finer details. But the soul of the story? That was real. Every painful realization. Every cold, empty night. Every moment of rage I had swallowed. It was all there, woven into a brutal, unforgiving tale. And at the end? The husband doesn't just move on. He makes sure the whole world knows what she did. I finished the book in a month. It wasn't just a draft, it was final. I hired an editor, a cover designer. Self-published it online under a pen name. I didn't need a major publisher, I needed speed. I wrote an afterword. A confession. This story was inspired by real events. By my wife, Gloria, and her affair with a man named Ryan. I uploaded screenshots of texts. Dates, locations. Undeniable proof that this wasn't just fiction, it was a confession wrapped in a best-selling thriller. And then, I hit publish. The book took off immediately. At first, just a handful of downloads. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Something about the raw truth of it, the vicious justice in the plot, it resonated. People devoured it, leaving reviews like, This isn't just a novel, it's a man's soul laid bare. Absolutely gripping. I hope the real-life Gloria is suffering. I don't know who this author is, but I want to buy him a drink. And then came the social media explosion. Book Talk. Bookstagram. Reddit. People were dissecting every detail, trying to figure out if it was really true. Then, someone found Gloria. Her real name wasn't in the book. But people are smart. They pieced it together from small clues, details about the town, little breadcrumbs I hadn't even realized I'd left. One viral post on Twitter, and suddenly, Gloria's face was attached to the scandal. The internet did what it does best. They dug up her social media. They found Ryan. Comments flooded her Instagram. Is this you? Cheating on your husband and getting famous for it? Yikes. Hope you enjoy being a villain, Gloria. She deleted everything. But it was too late. One night, after weeks of silence, my phone rang. An unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, the notification popped up. I pressed play. At first, just breathing. Then, her voice, small, broken. Andrew, please. Please call me. A pause. A sob. You don't understand what you've done. I smiled. Oh, Gloria. I understood perfectly. Gloria's voicemail sat in my inbox for days. I never responded. I never needed to. She had finally realized what I had known all along: some wounds never heal. The book had taken on a life of its own. It climbed the charts, spreading like wildfire. Blogs dissected it. News outlets picked up the story. The phrase, "the writer's revenge," became a meme, a phrase people used whenever a cheater got exposed. I watched as Gloria's life crumbled in real time. Her job was the first thing to go. Her employer, a high-profile marketing firm, didn't care about her personal life until clients started asking why they were employing the woman from that book. A scandal was bad for business. Gloria was called into a closed-door meeting, and by the time she walked out, she was unemployed. Then came Ryan. From what I gathered, through mutual friends, not direct contact, I had zero intention of ever speaking to her again. Ryan dumped her the moment his name hit the internet. Turns out, being a mystery side piece is fun. Being publicly exposed as the villain in a best-selling novel? Not so much. He ghosted her. Changed his number. Blocked her on social media. Gloria had burned her entire life down for a man who vanished the moment things got difficult. Poetic, really. I knew she would reach out again. And when she did, she wouldn't be angry. She'd be desperate. It happened 2 weeks after the voicemail. I was sitting in my apartment, one I had rented after leaving our house, a place that was finally mine, untouched by her betrayal, when my phone buzzed. An email. Subject, "Please, Andrew." I didn't respond. She sent another. Then another. Then 10 more over the next few days. I ignored them all. Then, one night, my buzzer rang. I didn't even have to check who it was. Gloria. She had nowhere left to go. I could imagine her standing outside, probably drenched from the rain, mascara smudged, her perfectly curated life in ruins. I didn't even get up from the couch. Instead, I pulled out my phone and watched her through the security camera. She looked like a ghost of the woman I had married. Hair unkempt. Eyes hollow. She pressed the buzzer again, then slumped against the door, her body shaking with silent sobs. I turned the volume up. "Andrew, please. Just talk to me." "I can't." Her voice cracked. "You don't understand. You ruined my life." A small, humorless laugh escaped me. Ruined her life? She had done that all on her own. I let her cry for another 5 minutes before I picked up the intercom. I didn't say anything at first. Just let the silence stretch, let her feel the weight of it. Then, finally, I spoke. "Go home, Gloria." A sharp inhale. A choked sob. "I don't have a home anymore, Andrew. Not my problem." I hung up. And when she started pounding on the door, begging, I didn't even flinch. I turned up the volume on the TV and let her screams fade into nothing. The world moved on. The internet found a new scandal, a new story to obsess over. The book kept selling, but the media storm around Gloria eventually quieted. For everyone else, it was just another cheating scandal. For me, it was closure. I had taken back control of my life. I had turned my pain into power. And Gloria? She had to live with what she had done. Not just in whispered rumors, but in print, in permanence, in a book that sat on thousands of shelves, in a story that could never be erased. That was my revenge. And it was perfect.